All right, guys, so today in front of me we have one of the newest releases from Blue Run Spirits. This is their spring release of their High Rye Bourbon. This one was completely distilled by master distiller Jim Rutledge. They did release a High Rye last year, I believe it was around October. Again, this is the 2022 release of the High Rye Bourbon. I guess you would call it number 2. This one comes in at 111 proof. It was distilled at Castle Key. And the mash bill on this guy is 65% corn, 30% rye, and 5% malted barley. I've been a pretty big fan of some of the stuff that Blue Run has put out. Very different, again, from their single barrels to their old high rye bourbon, to some of their very first releases. Very different in every way that you could think. Really excited to get into this one, guys. So without further ado, let's go. All right, guys, before we get started, I do want to send a big thank you over to Mike Montgomery and team over at Blue Run Spirits for supplying me with these samples here to review on the channel. You can find these on the shelves for around $99. They have been distributed throughout several states, and I believe you can find them on Seal Box as well. So, guys, let's go ahead and get into the nose on this one. Wow, so first thing I get is a really big burst of like this floral and honey mixture together on the nose. Like a sweet vanilla cream. Nice, like a rich caramel there too as well. That floral and honey is a little bit further into the glass. Like that vanilla and that like rich caramel is kind of a little bit further away. Pick up a little bit of lime too. A little bit of lime further into the glass with that honey and a little bit of floral. It's like a little bit of there is a little bit of rye there on the nose. It does have a high rye mash bill. Definitely picking up some of the rye spices on the nose. That's also further into the glass, so it's like a floral rye spice, some honey, a little bit of lime there further into the glass as well. I really can't get that out of my head now. Vanilla caramel a little bit further away. There's some baking spices in there too with that rye. A little bit of like a nutmeg maybe. Not much though, not a lot of baking spices on the nose. But that like lime, floral, honey, really, I really like that. It's very different, especially to pick up some lime on the nose. Let's get into the palate, guys. Cheers. Wow, so some of that on the palate definitely mimics that of what was on the nose. That honey, that rich honey sweetness right there. There is this like toasted oak flavor that sits there on like the middle into the back of the palate into the finish. Finish picking up some black pepper. That honey kind of flowed through as well from the front all the way into the back. Very, very sweet on the palate. Not picking up a lot of floral notes though at all. Maybe a little bit on the tip of my tongue. Long finish, medium to long finish, a little bit on the longer side. That black pepper and honey kind of flow down into there with some of that like that toasted oak from the middle into the back. That finish is still going. It's a pretty good first sip, guys. Let's get into the second one. Yeah, so that sip actually changed up a little bit. You got some like that floral does kind of stick like right on the tip of the tongue there. That honey sweetness still kind of flows through. That second sip definitely started to pick up some lemon there on the sides of the palate. That's really like all the citrus that I get kind of sits there and just like saturates the side of the palate. And then this toasted oak kind of mixed with that honey, some black pepper that flow into the finish. But there's also this sweetness that comes from this like caramel too. It's a really rich caramel. It's like a caramel bomb, caramel honey bomb. That just like that the sweetness between the two, it just covers the entire palate. It's very strange because I don't typically get those kind of flavors that cover the entire palate. It's either you hit them on the front, you hit them in the back, maybe sometimes just in the middle. but not all the way through. Again, that floral does sit there on the front of the tongue. The rye spices, I actually don't pick up a lot of rye spice. I pick up a little bit of allspice there in the back with that black pepper, that honey flowing through with that toasted oak. But I don't really get a lot of the rye spices. With it being a 30% rye, I mean that's a high rye mash bill. It doesn't really show on the palate as much as I thought it was going to. This is very, very good. Very good. Let's get into the last sip, guys. Cheers. So, I will say this. Another thing that kind of surprised me on that last sip, first two sips I didn't really get it, but that last one, the viscosity across, like, it's stuck to my gums, to my lips. The lemon there on the side just kind of like saturated itself in there. That like rich honey caramel that flows from the front all the way into the finish. The last sip I think is the one that did it for me. Very, very, like, it is very viscous. A little bit of burn coming from that. It is 111 proof. It doesn't drink that way. Some of that spice could be from the rye spices, but I don't necessarily pick up that flavor on the palate. So again, a little bit of florals on like the tip of the tongue there. Honey, caramel, sweetness all the way from the front into the back. Lemon there on the sides of the palate that kind of just like saturate. And then from like the middle to the back is just like, there's this toasted oak aspect, which is very odd. I really, really like it though. It gives it a completely different, like a very different profile than what I was expecting off of a high rye. And then the finish, again, you're getting some of that black pepper flowing through with that toasted oak, that honey, the caramel that just flows all the way through. And then like maybe a little bit of allspice there, kind of a little bit of spiciness, some baking spices that flow in through the back there. But that finish, each time I drank it, that finish just got longer and longer and longer. It was a medium to long finish. It's definitely much on, I would say the longer side, to be honest. I mean, it's still going. This is a fantastic pour here that they've created. I know, again, this was fully distilled by Jim Rutledge over there at Castle Key. Whether he wanted to kind of incorporate, almost like a Four Roses aspect to it, or maybe like change things up just a little bit. It almost reminds me of that, but the flavor profiles on this, they are a little different than what Four Roses has put out. Fantastic dram here from Blue Run Spirits. So I want to thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. And again, I want to send a big thank you over to Mike Montgomery and team for supplying me with these to review on the channel. Again, overall, I think, for the $99 price point, I think that's a steal at this point. With the flavor profile that I got from this, that viscosity that kind of crept up, sip after sip after sip, that toasted note aspect, that honey caramel sweetness that flowed through, the citrus, the black pepper, that flowed through into the back there with some of those baking spices. I think I have very high remarks for this one. I think Jim and team really did a fantastic job with getting the blending down for this. And again, it's the mash bill is a 65% corn, 35% rye, 5% malted barley. Again, some of the rye spices I didn't necessarily pick up on the palate, maybe a very, very little bit, but I got more of that on the nose. But I think what they have here, again, for $99, I think what you get out of this bottle, I think that's a steal. I think they really did a fantastic job, again, with the blending on this one. Very high remarks from me for this guy. I really enjoy this pour. I'm going to finish this sample after this review is done, and then crack this guy open shortly after to see if I get anything different. But again, guys, if you're looking for more reviews like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, bell notification to be alerted of any upcoming reviews or live streams. You also find me on Instagram at Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. And until next time, guys, stay dusty.